two African countries that have had their presidential elections cancelled by the courts. In every election, there must be winners and losers, or people who didn't get the majority of the votes. Since it's a democracy, such candidates are expected to accept defeat, but in some cases, winners emerge through an irregular process. When this happens, the losers of the election may decide to contest the outcome of the election. Historically, election results in Nigeria have always been greeted with a constant contest by the candidates that were not successful at the polls. Election tribunals are often set up to look into the appeal from the candidates who participated in the elections, but in most cases, the tribunals do little or nothing when a president-elect has been sworn in. Some people even believe there is no way a concluded election can be annulled by the court or tribunal, but it's not always the case. There are two African nations that have had their presidential election results cancelled after being announced due to irregularities and allegations of rigging from the various candidates and parties that participated in the election. In this article, we are going to have a look at the two African nations that have made history with the court annulling a concluded election and calling for a re-election to be conducted. What are the two African nations to have had their elections cancelled? The first is Kenya. On the 8th of August 2017, an election was conducted to elect the president, members of the National Assembly, and Senate. At the end of the election, the published results showed that incumbent President Uhuru Kenyatta of the Jubilee Party had been re-elected into office with 54% of the total votes cast. The sitting president polled over 8 million votes, while his main opponent, Raila Odinga of the Orange Democratic Movement, polled about 6 million votes. Odinga refused to accept the results and contested them in the Supreme Court. The results of the presidential election, after it was proven to have been marred by irregularities and rigging, were annulled by the courts, and fresh elections were ordered to be held within 60 days. This served as a historic movement in Africa, as this prior to occurrence had never happened in Africa. The second is Malawi. On the 21st of May 2019, Malawi conducted elections to elect a new president, members of parliament and local government councillors. Peter Mutharika, who was nominated as the candidate of the DPP, and his main challenger was Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera of the MCP, Malawi Congress Party. The election was marred by irregularities and claims of rigging by the Mutharika's DPP. In some districts in Malawi, some officers of the Malawi Electoral Commission were accused of swapping the results of Lazarus Chakwera for Peter Mutharika, and there was use of Tipex correction fluid on the result sheets to prove the swap in favor of DPP. However, regardless of the irregularities, Malawi Electoral Commission announced Mutharika as the winner of the controversial elections with a total vote of 1,940,709 against the MCP's Lazarus Techekwa of 1,781,740 votes on the 28th of May. Mutharika was sworn in for a new 5-year term, but the closest competitor, Lazarus Chakwera, challenged the outcome of the election in court and it was proven to have been so irregular that the election was regarded as a TPEX election. On the 3rd of February 2020, the Constitutional Court judges gave the long-awaited ruling on that disputed election and ruled to nullify the election, citing numerous irregularities by the Electoral Commission, and ordered that a fresh election be conducted in 150 days. In 2020, a fresh rerun was conducted between Peter Mutharika and Lazarus Chakwera of the MCP, and this time around, Lazarus Chakwera won in the election by a close margin. This occurrence made Malawi the second country in Africa to have their presidential election outcome cancelled or nullified by a court. Now let's see what people have to say about this. No one can expect what happened in Kenya and Malawi to happen in Nigeria. Those countries have courts and judges and judicial systems. Nigeria has become a rogue society where anything goes. Can you imagine a victor being declared in an election at 4 a.m. when even all the results have not been collated? Can you imagine a country's president showing the whole world whom he voted for by displaying his ballot paper in a contravention of the electoral law? Yet the man went scot-free. That alone is a strong pointer to how things have degenerated in Nigeria, and the supporters of evil who abound in the country do not see anything wrong in all this. Why didn't you tell us what happened after the annulment in Kenya, where millions of Kenya people were killed, and that was a clear case, unlike Obi, who is guilty of rigging in the southeast, where people were prevented from voting for other candidates? Is he a saint in the southeast? Why are your people demanding for Senate presidents if the election was not credible? Unfortunately, this is neither Kenya nor Malawi. This is Nigeria. Those expecting that to happen here will wait for a very long time. Well, these people have given their own views on this. Make sure to leave your views in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave your comments in the comments down